Okay, Year 7. So we've just been learning in the last couple of lessons all about describing our height. And now we're going to be looking at something else to describe the way we look, and that's our les yeux et les cheveux. So by the end of the lesson, you should be able to ask and say what colour hair you have, les cheveux, and your colour of your eyes, les yeux, okay? If you've been working in your books, you can put the title, les yeux et les cheveux, chez moi, at my house, and then whatever date you're working on this. So it could be lundi, Monday, le 15 mars, or whenever it is, okay? If you're working on Word or you're going to use the worksheet, then just use that, that's fine. Okay, so let's just quickly recap the vocabulary from last lesson. So what can you remember? Pause the video if you need longer to think, otherwise just call out in French or English the opposite of what these mean. So petit, grand, and de taille moyenne. So hopefully you said small, tall or big, and average height, de taille moyenne. And then we learnt a way to make those a bit more interesting or extend them to use intensifiers. We learnt très, assez, and vraiment. Any ideas what any of those mean? A bit harder to remember. So we've got very, très, assez, quite, and vraiment. Let's say all these words. Let's do one more phrase first, actually. What does je suis mean? Well done, you can remember it means I am. So je suis petit, I am small. Je suis assez grand, I am quite tall. Je suis assez grand. Let's écouter et répéter. Listen and repeat. Je suis. So you should have said je suis there, okay? Petit. Grand. De taille moyenne. Très. Assez. Vraiment. Super. Okay, let's do it the opposite way then. What is small? Petit, super. What is tall? Grand. And if you need longer to pause, remember do so. Otherwise, say it in the gap. What is average height? De taille moyenne. Excellent. And what about our intensifiers? What is very? Très. Quite. Assez. Really? Vraiment. And we put them all together with what is I am? Je suis. Fantastique. Okay. So we learned about I am last week, and that's one of the very important verbs. But we've also learned another very important one, which is I have. So I am and I have, we use these in lots of contexts. Can you remember I have? And to jog your memory, we did it when we talked about what's in our pencil case. And we use it with age in French. Remember, you can't say I am something years, I am 12. You have to say I have 12 years. Super, if you remembered that it's j'ai. Let's all say that, j'ai. Okay, so we're going to use that now to describe our hair and eye colour. So the question we're asking is quite long. We ask, tu as les yeux de quelle couleur? Tu as les yeux de quelle couleur? Literally, you have eyes of which colour? Tu as les yeux de quelle couleur? Let's break that down. Tu as, you say it. Now repeat again, les yeux. De quelle couleur? Tu as les yeux? De quelle couleur? Let's see if we can put all that together. Tu as les yeux de quelle couleur? Super. If you're saying it at home, even if it feels a bit silly speaking to a screen, remember that's going to really help these phrases stick in your head better. If you're not saying them, you're not going to remember them as well. Your brain isn't recognizing them as well. Okay? Right, let's have a look at some possible answers. We're going to need to use j'ai, I have. And remember, adjectives come after in French. We're not going to say I have blue eyes. We need to say I have eyes. So what's I have? J'ai. Good, let's look at this. You have eyes of which colour? So this part is eyes. So j'ai les yeux. Can you remember from colours what blue is? Hopefully you said bleu. J'ai les yeux bleu. So the only new phrase in that sentence there for us today actually is les yeux. We've done j'ai before, we've done bleu before. Why have I added an S to bleu? Well done if you got that. That's tricky. It's because it's plural, it's more than one. We don't usually have just one eye. Usually we have two eyes. So we will say j'ai les yeux bleus. I have eyes blues because both of them are blue. If you have one of each colour, then that's different. But most people have two eyes of the same colour. So we add an S to the colour. Right, so we're going to use that phrase again, j'ai les yeux something, to talk about green eyes. Let's practice the question again. Tu as les yeux de quelle couleur? I have green eyes. J'ai les yeux verts. And again, I add the S. But why am I not saying this as verts? Right, because the letters are silent on the end. Okay, so if the T and S on the end of a word, they're silent. Same for X. We don't say the end syllables, the end letters, sorry, if it's a consonant, if it's a non-vowel, usually on the end of a French word. Okay, j'ai les yeux verts. Try that. J'ai les yeux verts. Super. Okay. Tu as les yeux de quelle couleur? Let's try the question again. You say it. Tu as les yeux de quelle couleur? J'ai les yeux marron. I have brown eyes. Let's try that again. J'ai les yeux marron. So you're saying bleu, vert, marron. Now grey. J'ai les yeux gris. Say that. J'ai les yeux gris. So tu as les yeux de quelle couleur? J'ai les yeux gris. Okay, I have grey eyes. So let's have a look at these. We've got one more because sometimes people have very dark eyes that are quite black. That would be j'ai les yeux noirs. What is grey eyes? Well done, we said the whole sentence. J'ai les yeux gris. I have grey eyes. What would just be blue eyes on its own without the I have? Les yeux bleus. Good. Les yeux marron. And then what about green? Les yeux verts. Super. Now, strangely, marron doesn't have an S on the end because if a colour comes from a food, remember we talked about this before, so marron actually means chestnut, okay, that's a one word for chestnut, then you don't add an S to the colour. Right, what I'd like you to do now is either you can write these all out in your book or there is a worksheet where you can fill in the blanks, so you just delete the gap that's there and put the right letter. I want you to see how many of the spellings you can remember for these words. So you might just remember 2, remember 3, you might remember a couple of letters in each. It's fine. So pause the video, go to the worksheet and delete the line and put in the letter that should be there. There's one extra, which is hazel, which we have not yet learnt. I'm going to tell you how it sounds and you're going to see if you can guess the spelling. So repeat this if you need to hear it again. So we say hazel like this. Noisette. So j'ai les yeux noisette. So think about how you might make that wah sound. Think about the number 3. So pause the video, take as long as you need to see if you can remember these spellings without peeking at the video. And then when you're ready, check your answers. Okay, so here's the correct spellings. Bleu, marron, vert, gris, we did before. And then I've introduced you to noisette, which is hazel. And also another one, which is dark brown. So you've got a couple of options for different shades of brown. Okay? Right, let's have a look at hair colour now. So we're making some links here. This is not activating our prior knowledge. We're thinking about how we can make some links to other words we know, what we've done before, that sort of thing. So have a guess, pause the video. Any ideas what these words are? Which colour's which for hair? We've got noir, blond, brun, roux, and châtain. Let's see how many you got right. So I have blonde hair. Les cheveux blonds is blonde hair. Let's try that. Les cheveux blonds. Brown hair. Les cheveux bruns. So this will be if you've got dark brown hair. Okay, les cheveux bruns. Make sure you're repeating. Okay. Black hair. Les cheveux noirs. Les cheveux noirs. So this is not noir. Remember, O and I in French make a wah sound. Les cheveux noirs. And red or ginger hair, les cheveux roux. Try that, les cheveux roux. See if you can get that nice throaty sound. Okay, roux. So, les cheveux roux, what is black hair? Les cheveux noirs, what is brown hair? Les cheveux bruns, blonde hair. les cheveux blonds. Okay, so let's put it with a question now. So this word is tricky. We've just been saying it, but CH in French, remember, is a sh sound. Think back to when you did animals with Mr. Cullerton. So you have, tu as les cheveux. Think about the number 2 and the number 9. They both have that EU sound in them, don't they? So that makes a E sound. So you've got cheveux, cheveux. Tu as les cheveux de quelle couleur? You have hair of which colour? So what would this person say? Let's put it all together now. I have hair black. Can you say it? Pause the video. So we should have j'ai les cheveux noirs. Okay? How would you say I have hair blonde? In other words, I have blonde hair. So j'ai les cheveux blonds. Super. Let's practice that question again to make sure we're getting it. Tu as les cheveux de quelle couleur? And again, tu as les cheveux de quelle couleur? So if you had ginger hair, how would you say it? So we should have j'ai les cheveux roux. Okay? Let's practice the question again. Tu as les cheveux de quelle couleur? So what would you say if you had light brown hair? Now this is a new one, so listen carefully. If you've got light brown hair, we use the word châtain. Okay, so let's try that. J'ai les cheveux châtains. And again, j'ai les cheveux châtains. Okay, so same as with your eyes now, I want you to fill in as much of that as you can, deleting the lines or writing them in your books. See how many of the spellings you remember. Off you go. Okay, so you've had a little go at filling in those. Let's see what the French is. You've got noir, blanc, brun, roux, and châtain. They all need an S on the end because you have more than one hair on your head. We don't just have one strand of hair, so we don't say j'ai un cheveu noir. We have lots of hair. So the French consider it to be plural because you've got more than one strand of hair. If a word ends in an X, like roux, we don't add an S to it to make it plural. Okay? Often words end in an X because they're plural, like cheveux. Okay, little challenge for you here that is optional is we've been practicing these questions. Tu as les yeux de quelle couleur? And tu as les cheveux de quelle couleur? See if you can ask that to somebody in your house who may be an older sibling who's done French before. See if they can remember their answer, or see if you can get somebody else to ask you them, not knowing which order. So you could get later on this evening when somebody's home, a parent to ask you this one first or this one first. You don't know which one's coming, and listen carefully, see if you can answer on the spot. You don't have to, just as a little way to practice the speaking. Or if you'd like, you could record yourself asking and answering the question to yourself and send those in so we can hear you speaking. Fantastic. Right, you're going to do a quiz now on Moodle. So I'm going to show you where it is, and then we're going to come back, if you have time, to this extension. Okay, so you need to go once you've watched this little bit so I can show you. Now the link to the quiz is in the lesson, or you can go to the Year 7 Moodle page where we've been working through all of these brilliant lessons you've been doing. And then we're in the describing people section. Okay, so lesson 3, hair and eye colour, and it looks like this. Okay, so you've got to drag and drop the descriptions to the right picture. Then you're answering with each of these whether or not what colour their hair is. So you read it and pick the English. Be careful, sometimes they talk about their eyes first, so that would be about this. And then question 3, you're labelling these characters, but they also include their height sometimes. So read those as well as what they're using. And some of them say something else because you can't see their hair. Okay, so have a go at that quiz, and then once you've finished, if there's time in the lesson, come. Okay, so you should by now have done the quiz, and now what you're going to do is write a phrase about yourself. So on the worksheet underneath where you're putting the vocabulary, or in your book, I want you to write a sentence or two about yourself, like a mini paragraph. So if I was writing about me, I would say, Je m'appelle Madame Hillier. Be careful of the spelling of m'appelle, double P, double L, okay? moi, me. So remember we saw that with height. Sometimes they put that moi when they're about to say something about themselves. Me, moi. J'ai les yeux verts. Et, so I've got a link with there, and j'ai les cheveux blonds. Je suis assez petite. Because I'm a girl, I need an extra E on the end of small. So I have green eyes and blonde hair. I am quite small, quite short. So you're basically, when you write it about you, changing the parts in brackets. So that's why there are brackets there. You don't need to include them in your writing. So we've got some activating prior knowledge here, thinking back to our name and our height. And we're making new connections, that are new words, having a look at that on your worksheet to help you. Okay? Excellent. Remember to do the quiz because that will summarize how well you've done today. And there is an extra hair and eyes quiz, but that includes some vocabulary from next lesson. So don't jump ahead and do it just yet, but if you really want to, if you've got the time, you can, to see how well you could work it out. Okay? Super, and au revoir.